Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Between the Stitches. I am your host, Brady Wilson, with my co-host, Chase Olschwanger.
Good afternoon.
Well, it is a good afternoon for some people, I guess. The other 31 potential fan bases in one of the leagues. Now, of course, if you can do basic math, there's only one league that has 32 teams. The other have 30. Does the NHL have 32? Or because they were at because they had the Kraken, but they didn't have anybody else. Anyway, point is
because Utah was Arizona. So,
point is
whatever. We'll get there.
We'll get there. I know everyone wants to hear I know that I've gotten text messages about what I think. We'll get there. See, there's a reason we put the football last. It's because you got to stay through the whole thing to get to the football. Quick thing on the Stars, they've kind of, and as well as their American Airlines Center partner, they've kind of hit a skid. They're 3-3 their last 6 games. They just they've hit a little bit of a rut. But we've been linked to a couple names. Wish I had that list of names in front of me. But the Stars there's some chatter, obviously, that we're probably going to add somebody. And I trust Jim Nill. And I also trust that this team, which is still not really dealing with injuries, knock on the desk here, Robertson's really putting together, it's a skid. It's an 82-game schedule. You're allowed to have some 3-3 stretches. I didn't actually check our standings, but have you been able to keep up much with the Stars?
Yeah, I don't know if this is something that they're thinking about, but I would like to see a potential goalie ad at the deadline. Just Smith, for me at least, has just been super underwhelming, and I know he's the backup goalkeeper, and I know he's not going to be in every game, but in the games that you do give Ottinger, that day off, you want to, try to be competent. And when he has stepped in goal for the days that Ottinger has been out, he has not looked good. And I wonder if that's something that the Stars are considering, doing at the deadline, just to try to, compete when they do give Ottinger those days off. Or, knock on wood, in case of any injury for Ottinger. You can't, you're going to have to live with that then. So that's just for me personally, but they're still in a good spot. They're dealing with a couple injuries. I didn't check to see if Hintz was back on the ice. I know he got hurt. But they'll get healthy and they'll make a move here or there, and I think they'll be okay.
So the record is 29-17-1. They're currently 5th in the Western Conference. They're 3rd in the Central. So
they're fine. They're right there.
You're going to be in the play. You're going to be in the playoffs. So you're just kind of gearing up for that. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, their AAC partner has really, and again, not through a ton of their own fault, had some issues. And I'm going to let Chase take it away because, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's not much to talk about. And I'm not going to keep going each and every week just saying, when we get healthy, because every time I'm saying that, there's another injury. So I'm just going to, just got to preface, get healthy, but they got to focus on right now because I know they're beat up, and we'll talk about it here because it happened yesterday. Derek Lively out 2 to 3 months, reevaluated in 1 month, so that might be a good sign just because he's reevaluated in a month, but doesn't really mean that he's coming back. But starting center, out for a couple months, and that's just not something the Mavs needed with all the injuries that that they have right now. On some brighter news, Saturday, the 25th, Luka is going to be reevaluated. It is the 1 month, I'm looking here, the 1 month plateau, I guess you could say, for when he got injured, and he will be reevaluated and hopefully back. They did say that he is planning to be back before the All-Star break. So if that is true, I would expect him back on the floor in the next week or two, which is, great news. But unfortunately, what we're going to get to is the Mavs right now sitting at 23-21, 9th in the Western Conference, currently in a play-in spot. And listen, I think I'm going to double check myself, but I think they're only like 2 games or a game and a half out of 6th or something like that, or 5th. It's all really close. And let me just check real quickly. So yeah, they are a game and a half. Sorry. So it's all, they're right there. Just like, 2 wins here and 2 losses there from another team, and they're back in the playoffs. So But listen, the struggle is just trying to, what we've talked about each and every week is just trying to keep afloat while these guys aren't on the floor. And they just haven't been able to pull through. And it's really unfortunate to see because the team is just so talented. And all these guys are just missing time. And it's just not benefiting them in every way. The schedule's hard. They had Minnesota last night. They couldn't pull that one out. They got to go to Oklahoma City tonight and then Boston on Saturday. So those are, 3 games that are not in your favor. And, it's just, it's a rough moment, but, like PJ Washington said last night, it's early. Better happen now than later. And you hope that it does happen now and not later. But just stay afloat, try to win some games you're not favored to win, and just get healthy.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry for the long.
No, that's it. Dude, my Rangers and Cowboys fans have nothing to do. You're fine. Yeah, I mean, it just sucks that, we're getting hurt and there's Luka's hurt. Freaking people are asking for Clay to be traded. I've heard that. I texted you about it, and you had an interesting response. You called them all casuals.
And then I sent you the tweet from someone. Yeah, it was, to preface what you were saying, or just to give some context on what you were saying. There was people saying that to trade Clay because of the production the last month has been down. Guess what? Yeah, I think it's been down because there isn't one of the best players in the world and the best facilitator in the world on the floor. And you look at the stats, with Luka on the floor, Clay is averaging 15 points a game. With Luka not on the floor, he's averaging, 11?
You know what? Why can't we play like the Jazz? Or why can't we play the Wizards 5 games in a row? get a winning streak going. I haven't looked at the NBA standings in a while. We actually don't talk much about the NBA, so I'll go ahead and do a standings thing here. The 76ers are really in bad shape.
I mean, they're in the same deal. I mean,
No, they're not in the same deal. We're 23 and 21.
Well, right. They just haven't been healthy all year.
They're 15 and 27.
Yeah. No,
they've lost 7 straight. They're 2-8 their last 10. That Brooklyn is awful. So is Charlotte and Toronto, and Washington is 6 and 36. Yeah. My God.
But then the Mavs, a couple days ago on Martin Luther King Day, couldn't take advantage of Charlotte, and they lost. And yeah, it's just been a tough month. And
well, look at this. The Wizards are 6 and 36. They've lost 11 straight. The Thunder are 36 and 7. That's insane. Just the records there. It's just really funny. Anyway, yeah, just got to get healthy. I guarantee you, the same narrative from last year is going to probably carry to this year. It's going to be, well, the Mavs are fully healthy going to the playoffs. They're the 8th seed. Nobody wants to see them because they're healthy now, and
right.
they their record doesn't reflect their seeding. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. My hope right now is a 6th seed.
Keep your head above water, and get healthy.
6th seed is the goal for me. I'll tell you why real quickly before we move on. One, you avoid the play-in. 2, not that we can't beat them, but you avoid OKC at least until the Western Conference Finals if you make it. So the 6th seed is kind of what I'm targeting.
On that note, we'll move to baseball. There is not much with baseball. This is that real kind of no man's land dead period other than some relief pitcher signing.
For the next 2 months, and then it's...
Well, no, not for about less than a month until
reports, yeah.
But see, that's baseball to me.
Right.
People cover training camp, oh my God, I covered spring training. That's how I get, you get the sounds of you get the pure sounds of baseball. You get the gloves popping
the Giancarlo Stanton home run with the concessions guy in the crowd, chanting beer, and then Stanton popping a home run.
That's baseball.
That's baseball right there.
And it's great. I do like some spring training. I am a fiend who will watch some spring training baseball just to have baseball back. The Rangers' big thing right now is I'm just going to talk about it. Is just getting healthy. There's been some articles, being published about Evan Carter feels good. DeGrom There's been some chatter. Will he make 25? I think he said his goal is 25 starts. Some people have said that, his goal is like 30 starts. But some people said, it would not be out of the question that, he makes 20 to 25 starts. That would be, fantastic if he could make 25 starts for this baseball team. There's been talk about our rotation because you've got 8 guys that are going to probably vie for 5 spots. Now, this is a time that I would argue a 6-man rotation may not be the worst plan in the world if you wanted to keep DeGrom and Eovaldi and Mahle healthy. I think going to a 6-man, at least for a time, I expect them to have a 6-man at least once this year, for maybe a month, just to keep guys a little bit fresher. And you're going to have those, DeGrom's going to skip this start because of, finger soreness or whatever. Like, his eyeball is sore, so he's going to, miss his next start. That's what it's, you're going to have some, and I hate.
There's nothing wrong with that, though. I'd rather have him miss a game.
This is the 21st century term I hate. Load management, but as a basketball fan, you know all about that, Chase.
They're talking about that.
I do as I drop my pen, as is a weekly tradition here on the show. The funniest part is no one would ever know I do it, except that I announce it, because I think it's just funny.
I see it. So
we had Chase. You hear Chase laugh. We're like, why is Chase laughing? Well, that's because Brady drops his pen every episode, and it'll probably we're only about 12 minutes in, so it is going to happen again. I imagine.
It was pretty quick, actually.
Yeah, it was. That may be a new record. But I think the rotation should be DeGrom, Eovaldi, Mahle, Gray, Bradford. That's how I would have it. And the reason is, I know Rocker looked great. I know Leiter struggled a little bit. I don't like just going, oh, hey, well, you 2 top prospects that we view as the future of our franchise, we're going to stick you in the bullpen just because we don't have a spot for you yet. I'd rather them go get starts in AAA together than be in the bullpen. Right? I'm going to use Cole Reagan as my example. When he was in Bochy's bullpen, because as we just didn't have a spot in our rotation for him. Because I think what our rotation going into 23 was DeGrom, Eovaldi, it was Martin Perez, Andrew Heaney, and John Gray. And Reagan's was the 6th man. Reagan's and Dunning were the 6 and 7, were the 2 guys that, hey, they're starters. We're going to put them in the bullpen because we need them to be in the bullpen. And Reagan's just was bad in the bullpen because he didn't get consistent innings. He'd pitch on Tuesday, then wouldn't pitch again till Sunday. Right. That's not, that's just not viable for a guy that's going to be a starter to do. Dunning can do it, but I think Dunning's more of a swing guy than Reagan's is. And look, Reagan's goes to Kansas City, becomes Cole Reagan's. So, I'm wary. I'm cautious to put, Leiter and Rocker in the bullpen because it's not an easy transition. So I don't know what they're going to do with that.
What's the update on Scherzer?
I think Toronto's been looking at him. I've long said that Baltimore should 100% go sign him. They have a young team.
Yeah.
If you have a young ball club and you need somebody that can come in and be a vet, man, there's nobody better on the free agent market than Max Scherzer right now. Nobody. 2 rings, first ballot Hall of Famer, just trying to, stay in the big leagues and enjoy his time here.
There's no chance that he comes back here.
If I was Boston, go get him. Clearly the guy can still pitch. He's just,
hurt.
He may not make 25, 30 starts where he's pitching 200 innings again. He's probably going to be 15 to 18 starts. He's not going to be the Mad Max that we traded for in the middle of 23. He's clearly shown that he's a mid to upper 3s ERA, solid number 3 or 4 pitcher on a championship team. I'm trying to think of teams that are young that need, I don't want to use the word guidance, but need that veteran presence,
What's equivalent to the Thunder?
Cleveland would be interesting.
But Baltimore, I think Baltimore.
But Baltimore makes a ton of sense.
They've had a pretty rough offseason, too.
The Yankees would make some sense. As much as I hate seeing Scherzer in pinstripes, he'd make some sense. The Dodgers, I guess, are in on everybody. So sure, they'll just have a 15. They'll have a 15-man rotation. They'll have a 13-man rotation. All 13 of their pitchers will be starters, including Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott.
Yep.
And they're just gonna rotate starts. There's Seattle. There's some young pitchers there. You want a good mentor? Go get Max Scherzer. Not Oakland. That is gonna be a bad habit. The A's. I'm not gonna use the word Sacramento.
Sacramento.
No. You know what? Screw it. Oh, if Oakland, I'm just going to use the word Oakland because everyone knows what I'm talking about. Oakland, they could use a guy like Scherzer to come in. All right, boys, here's what it looks like. Here's what it takes. Here's what it looks like to win a championship. I've done it twice, So we'll see. We'll see where he ends. I'm very curious to see where he ends up.
There's some talent on that A's team as well, so it'd be nice to have.
There is.
So.
AL West has actually got some talent this year.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that before spring, probably right before spring training starts, is when we'll probably end up doing. No. I forgot. We don't do so because I thought about like when we do football. We do football the week before the season starts.
Like record predictions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do like right before opening day, and opening day is a Thursday. So we may have to do like a Tuesday episode.
Well, it'd be an afternoon game, right?
Yeah. Well, I won't be here on that Thursday. So we'll probably do it. Anyway, that's way in the future.
Okay.
But we'll probably, before the season starts.
I want to do it a week before.
So that way we have injuries. Because I don't want to, pre-spring training. This team is going to be phenomenal. And then two of their pitchers get Tommy John'd, and their star outfielder needs ACL. You just don't know spring training.
Right.
Oblique's going to be out for 2 months. You don't want that. So we'll and we go over. I don't know if you have yours written down somewhere, but I'll go over my.
I have mine.
We'll go over our season predictions from last year. See how wrong we were. See how right we were.
I will say that I do remember that I don't remember all my record predictions. I know I was wrong, but I do remember saying that I had Paul Skeens winning National Rookie of the Year.
I got to give you your flowers on that one. Yeah,
I
think I had the Rangers like repeating or something. I don't remember what I had. I had the Phillies. I know what I had. I had the Phillies.
I think I had Rangers Giants in the World Series.
Oh
yeah.
I think I had Phillies. I think I had Phillies Rangers. All right. I used that, or I had Phillies Baltimore, and no, that didn't work. But on to other baseball news. Let's do the one that's gonna that people are wanting to talk about more. That is the new Yankees, because the Yankees don't spin like this anymore. The Los Angeles Dodgers. This is going to be a very complicated issue, so we're going to try to dig into it a little bit here. Because it is. I was going through it with my dad Tuesday, just talking about the different points of it. It's like, well, in arguably baseball's biggest boom period over the last 50 years was the late 90s, early 2000s. And it was right after the strike, right? And I'm like, but that was one of baseball's biggest boom periods. And there was a dynasty that won 4 championships. And people still consider that a great era for baseball. But then he was like, yes, but you're forgetting steroids brought some fans in. I'm like, yes, but it's still considered one of baseball's biggest boom periods. Power is still a commodity in baseball. And there was a dynasty. And there's not a dynasty right now yet. Dodgers haven't even, they're getting close. To me, it's 3 in a certain window. All right, the Chiefs are a dynasty. They've won 3 in 5 years? 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
So
Astros were close.
Astros, I am probably going to, at some point in my life, sit down and define that's a true dynasty. Then I have some other ones where I'm like, okay, like the Red, and they were called this at the time, so don't cancel me. The Redskins with Joe Gibbs, they won 3. But it was here, few years later, here, few years later, here. Right? So they won 3, right? Or did they win 2?
I thought Washington, I thought it was 2.
I thought they...
Maybe it was...
No, because didn't they beat Miami? And
I don't remember who they beat.
And the Raiders, and then they beat... I don't know. The point is, they're close, right? So the point is, there's not a dynasty in baseball yet. The problem is, and this is what me and my dad are going back and forth on, which is baseball has a perception problem. If you're the Arizona Diamondbacks, why are you excited going into the season? Going into the season, why are you excited? Why do you care?
If you're any team in the West.
Why do you care? And my dad said, what about wild card? Yes, wild card, but you have to play the Dodgers more than anybody else does. You get to play them 13 times. If they beat you 10 of those times because their team is just so stacked, that's 10 extra losses on your record. That makes you that could turn you from an 83-win team to a 93-win team, right? Or a 93-win team to an 83-win team. Like that's 10 games in baseball during the season feels like nothing. When you get to September, those 10 games really matter. And the Dodgers are causing a perception problem. There's not a ton of excitement. There's a lot of animosity between fans and owners and players and everybody right now. Once we get into April, May, June, and injuries take over and regression happens and people break out, right? Then you get to, oh, I'm excited because my team looks really, really good. But we're not there yet. And what matters more is the perception at the start of a season. Because if fans don't, like Lions fans right now, man, they're heartbroken. I can remember before the year, though, it was like they were planning the parade route in the preseason, right? So it's a perception thing. That's why the season was so great for Lions fans. Their perception was this could be the year. Going through the year, they're winning every game. This could be our year. And they get to the playoffs, and that's just why it's so crushing because they had that perception from the start. But I fear, and I still cling to the belief that nothing will ever kill baseball. But I am really worried about this next CBA. I think it runs after next season.
Yeah.
Because owners are, and again, this is one of those times where both sides have a great case. Okay? The players are going to argue, you guys are billionaires and you're not investing in your franchise. The players' argument is this. Free agency started, 2 months ago? Right? About 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Tanner Scott was out there for 2 months. Nobody signed him. Right? If the Dodgers signed 15 players in the first week, then you're right. The Dodgers are just buying up talent because they're outbidding everybody. The Dodgers are not outbidding anybody. I mean, they are, but they're not walking up to a player and saying, "Oh, Atlanta Braves offered you this. Well, triple that. We're going to offer you this." Right? It isn't like that. Tanner Scott was out there for 2 months. Any of the other 29 teams could have signed him. They didn't. They didn't want to. They didn't want to cough up the money. So guess what? The Dodgers say, "Well, we'll do it." The Dodgers are. It's almost like they're going to every other team. You don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want to. But when I do it, you get mad because I did it. I don't like that logic. And the players are going to say that. Well, I was out there for 2 months, and the Dodgers finally signed me. You guys could have signed me, but you didn't. Apparently, the Rangers didn't even make a formal offer to Kirby Yates. A formal offer. They probably had some talks. Think about that. We didn't even offer him a real legitimate contract again. And he was terrific for us. He was an all-star for us last year. So what's he supposed to do when the Dodgers call and say, "Hey, we're the defending champs. You want to come play for us?" What's he supposed to say? No, because for the betterment of baseball, screw that. I'm going to get my money. I'm 39, 37, he's somewhere in that range. This may be my last payday. I'm going to get paid. But the owner's argument is going to be this. And I saw this. The Dodgers have almost, and they may have more now, and this is even before Tanner Scott. They have almost as much money in just deferred money than the Cleveland Guardians franchise is valued at. It's like $1.4 billion. Now think about if you're the Cleveland owner, you're looking at the Dodgers and saying, well, they're not signing all these contracts and paying for it right now. They're deferring all this money. I can't do that. Because guess what? The Dodgers, I forgot about this. Their streaming deal, do you know what their streaming deal was?
Mm.
25 years at like 7 or 8 billion. So think about this. Rangers are trying to find somebody, give me anybody to take our rights. The Dodgers have a 25-year contract. They don't have to worry about streaming rights or what's going to happen to their regional broadcasting network in, 10 years. Right? They got a 25-year contract for several $billion. They are not worried. The Cleveland Guardians are not going to get that. That is a problem. The point of free agency is so, not that the Cleveland Guardians can sign 8 free agents, right? It's so they can sign 1 or 2, and the Dodgers sign 1 or 2, and the Rangers sign 1 or 2, and the Mets sign 1 or 2, and the Yankees sign, and every team gets a couple guys, and it spreads out the talent. But right now, we've gone back to the talent is just being condensed to these few teams because they're offering the contracts. They can. The New York market's going to pay more money than the Cincinnati market's going to. As good as those fans are, the market, give me another small. The market in Milwaukee is going to pay different than the market in Los Angeles in terms of dollars. So the Dodgers have the ability to not worry about contracts.
I also think a lot of people are more frustrated when it comes to Hiroki Sasaki, for example, and not just the Dodgers spending the money, but these players
choosing them
can go wherever they want and even be the best player on that team, but deciding to be the 15th best player just because it's the Dodgers. I mean,
and that sucks. I get that sentiment.
I think that's where more people are frustrated about because why? I mean, Sasaki only chose the Dodgers because Ohtani, Yamamoto.
Well, even then, I disagree because he even said that he would have gone to a team that he didn't have to have compatriots on his team. And remember, he banned, if you had a Japanese player, he said, don't bring him to the meeting. So the Dodgers couldn't. So to me, that's not why he picked them because to me, it's the Dodgers. Why wouldn't he pick the Dodgers? They're coming off a championship. They've clearly shown that they're willing to spend whatever it takes. Unlike some other teams in professional sports, they are willing to sign whatever check that wins them a championship. Jerry Jones. Sorry. But it's one of those things. Do I think the Dodgers are going to repeat? No, I don't. I don't think so. Baseball is 162 games for a reason. If this was basketball, 82 games, the Dodgers would win probably 50, 55 games, 60 games. It'd be insane what they would win. But this is 162 games. It's a grind.
Yeah.
Injuries happen. Regression happens. And the way the Dodgers mechanically teach their pitchers to pitch and have them throw in their system, there's a reason they all get hurt. I'm just going to point this out. I don't have a visual aid to help you guys, but if you want something to go look up Chris O'Leary on Twitter, and you'll see a lot of stuff about this. A lot of the Dodgers mechanics and what they teach, a lot of the driveline stuff. And this is a pun intended, driving a lot of these injuries, a lot of the Tommy John twist, and a lot of the I'm completely blanking, a lot of the inverted W and hyperabduction. I knew I was missing a big term there. A lot of this stuff that's causing pitchers to break, the Dodgers are at the forefront of teaching that. So they're going to need all 15 of whatever pitchers they have because they're probably going to get hurt. A lot of them are going to get hurt. Shohei's probably going to need another Tommy John in a couple years, and he's not going to pitch again because why would you pitch after, 3 Tommy Johns? It's not going to work as much as... And Tanner Scott, oh my gosh, how could they get him? That's wonderful, but I remember last year when everyone was clamoring for Josh Hader, and he was meh in Houston. Closers are volatile. I wouldn't have wanted to... Tanner Scott would have been cool to sign. Not for 4 years. I don't like signing closers to long-term deals. They rarely work. Because the margin of error for closers is less than any other position in baseball. 2 or 3 bad outings, and you look like you had a horrible season. So,
but the window's closing now on signing a reliever. and I don't even know who's out there for the Rangers to even pursue.
We'll figure it out. I trust the process. I trust, and people are, well, I don't want to have to trade for someone at the deadline. Well, even if you sign a closer, you're probably still going to be trading for guys at the deadline because that's what winning teams do. Winning teams try to make moves at the deadline. So that's been my Dodgers rant. I think people are overreacting to it a lot, but it doesn't matter. It's because
predicting 130 wins.
As a diehard baseball fan, I've seen this too many times where fans are, oh my gosh, this team's a super team. How many times in basketball have we heard, Chase, oh my gosh, a new super team? And then,
well, last year, for example, Boston. Boston's the last example. And
I remember Brooklyn was supposed to be the next dynasty was going to be Durant and Harden and Irving. And how'd that work out? Sitting like 17 and 27 in the standings, Brooklyn. Worked out real great for you. I remember when Harden
Durant's shoe size was a little too big.
When Harden and Russ were supposed to be the next big duo. Oh my, the era of the duos.
And then Russ,
nothing.
And then Russ went to LA to join LeBron and AD,
and then how'd that work out?
Yeah.
Oh, the Clippers. Wow, Kawhi, Paul George, Harden, Russ. This is going to be the next super team. Nothing. Oh no, Harden. I hate that Harden's a part of a lot of this. Harden and Embiid. They're going to be the next super team. Dud.
Yeah, for the most part, you're right. But
super teams, this is not a video game where they're all a bunch of overalls and you just sim it and it works out. Injuries happen. Regression happens. The Dodgers came kind of close. I mean, the Padres had them until Dave Roberts expertly preyed upon Manny Machado being a diva and being very volatile emotionally, and he got under their skin. I'm sorry, that was one of the most brilliant moves I've ever seen from a manager that was not on the field, too. He knew he'd get under the Padres' skin, and it worked to perfection. But, like the Rangers. You're going to tell me the Rangers can't compete with the Dodgers?
Well, fully healthy, I'm sure.
This is what happens when you get into a 7-game series. Dodgers have 1 or 2 bad games, they're down 2-0. Like that. I was like that. This is baseball. The problem is it has a perception problem. And the owners and the players are not going to want to budge on this thing. And it is going to cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
When this new CBA comes out. But we'll... Obviously, I hope it doesn't get to that, but I can see it coming because the last CBA was awful. The owners were kind of forced to budge so that they didn't lose the season. And I think the owners are tired of doing what the players want. I think they're tired of giving to the players. So, one more thing about it. I think what's going to end up coming out of the CBA is a salary cap on... There's never going to be a salary cap in baseball. The players, I think, would never play baseball. Ever. It's never going to happen. I would be befuddled if it ever happened. I think what the owners are going to say is a cap on deferred contracts. And the players are going to say, they're going to say no because the owners are trying to hamper our retirement funds, right? But that's a stupid argument because if you're just not an idiot with $100 million, you shouldn't need to put it away, right?
Right.
But that's what I think they should do. That's the compromise. Okay, no salary cap on year to year, but there's a cap on how much you can defer contracts. Because that's how the Dodgers are not people I think don't seem to understand that. The Dodgers are not doing this, and they don't have. Their tax bill is going to be high. Obviously, their luxury tax bill is going to be ungodly.
Yeah.
But it's still not going to be where it should be because they're deferring a lot of this money. So, anyway.
Yep.
The Hall of Fame announced their vote.
All expected.
CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, Ichiro Suzuki. Great class. And then you joined Dave Parker and Dick Allen, 2 guys that were very, very deserving candidates. And you got a really good 5-man class. And I'm happy that the Cobra, Dave Parker's going to be in Cooperstown that day. He's going to be able to make it. Unfortunately, Dick Allen, no longer with us. But I think his son will be the representative for him. So it's going to be a great weekend. There's a lot of teams represented. Dick Allen, obviously, I believe, famous with the White Sox and the Phillies. believe he won. He was in MVP with one of them. Dave Parker, obviously everyone thinks of the Pirates. We are family. He's also on the Reds. I know there's probably some other teams I'm missing. CC's going to be represented by Cleveland, New York, and even if it was for half a season, Milwaukee. Ichiro, mainly Mariners. Obviously, he played for the Yankees. He played for the Marlins, but Mariners. And then you've got Billy Wagner, played for a lot of teams. But when I think of Billy Wagner, I think Houston. So it's gonna be a great weekend coming up in July, or a great Hall of Fame week. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. But the big thing that came out of it was one person looked at Ichiro Suzuki and said, "Nah, not a Hall of Famer." Like, it's just, it's kind of comical how even a guy like Ichiro can't be unanimous. But I mean, to be fair, Babe Ruth wasn't unanimous. Ted Williams wasn't unanimous. Hank Aaron wasn't unanimous. Willie Mays, 660 career home runs, and there were still people that said, "Nah, fam, not a Hall of Famer." Like, insane. Jackie Robinson, not unanimous. There were people that said Jackie Robinson didn't do enough for baseball to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, baseball can be so infuriating. But there's your baseball update. Now we got to get to, now that I'm all worked up about the CBA stuff, and I don't mind, I hope I'm not dominating this too much, but now we've got football. Let's get to the one that people, national championship. Congratulations, Ohio State. National champs. Deserved it. They got hot at the right time. You know what's funny is a lot of the college football fans who don't really follow pro sports as much getting mad that their sport is now functioning like a pro sport, which if you think NIL should be a thing, then guess what? It's going to function like if you are going to pay players, then it's going to function like a professional sports league. If you don't like that, then you shouldn't want NIL. They go hand in hand. But the best, I don't think Ohio State was the best team in the playoffs. Probably Oregon. But the problem is that Ohio State got hot. They got red hot.
Yeah. And they wanted revenge from the last time they played Oregon.
Congratulations to my ex-teammate, friend of mine, Calvin Simpson Hunt, who, ready for this, wins the championship. And I love Calvin. And he's actually the first player to declare that he's transferring. So he is transferring from Ohio State. I can't wait to see where he goes. But he gets a championship and dips. It is funny. But, there's going to be a lot of talent from that team in the draft this year. Pretty much their whole defensive line. Yeah. Davis Ig, cannot pronounce the last. I don't need to learn the pronunciation. I think is going to the draft. Denzel Burke, Caleb Downs. On the offense, you've got Donovan Smith. That's his name?
I know it's a left tackle for Tampa Bay, or it was.
No, Donovan Jackson.
Jackson, yeah.
The guy that was kicking the guard and tackle, which is good. It proves he can play both. NFL teams like that. Josh Simmons, who some people were regarding as the best tackle in the draft, even though he was hurt. Emeka Booker's going in the draft. Judkins and Travion Henderson, and I think Will Howard's going in the draft. There's a lot of Ohio State talent. And Notre Dame's got some players. Howard Cross, Riley Mills, Xavier Watts, Benjamin Morrison, who was hurt. So you've got a lot of talent that was on that field last Monday night. Now let's get to let's go to the NFL. Aaron Glenn got hired. Good for him. In terms of galvanizing the troops in the building, I think he's going to be great. I don't really care for his defensive scheme all that much, but he's not really a scheme coach. He's a culture coach. So hopefully he's able to galvanize the troops over there in New York. There hasn't been any other hires. Ben Johnson, Bears, the Bears, finally
amazing hire.
Have more hope. They're going to need to draft, I think, about 8 offensive linemen in the draft to try to protect Caleb Williams. I'm interested to see who Johnson brings in on his staff. And I was telling you in our little, I don't want to even call it a pre-production meeting. But I was saying that over the last year, I really, really, really just, hammered in, researching football. And one of the big things I've come to a conclusion about is the head coach matters, yes, but one of the biggest markers for a good head coach is how they build their staff. So I'm very curious to see how Johnson and Glenn build their staff, who they bring in. It's already been reported that Ben Johnson is looking at Dennis Allen, Saints former head coach as a defensive coordinator. That's fine. I mean, hey, maybe he's one of those guys that great defensive coordinator,
but than he's a coach.
Bad head coach.
Yep.
So we'll see. Mike McCarthy clearly not going to Chicago, but maybe Mike goes to the Saints. I really think him to the Saints makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carr would actually play really well in his scheme, potentially.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll see. But then you got one other team. How much time we have? 40 minutes? Oh, God. We're going to need to... All right, this is part 1 of the episode. Part 2 coming up when it's just one segment. And I'm sorry if that popped. I think the mic just popped, so I'm sorry if that was really loud. But you want to take this one? Or you want me to take this one? Because
sure, I'll give you a little break to catch your breath.
Well, I was going to say, for context purposes, it's been reported that a deal is imminent, and then Jane Slater fired off about an hour and a half ago, a couple hours ago, that there is no deal imminent. So context, Jane's really plugged into that building, and so I just want to preface this. But Chase, I'm gonna catch my breath.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, like Brady just prefaced, we don't know, but it sounds like the Cowboys are going to hire their offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer as their head coach, and nothing against Schottenheimer, even though he's had a poor track record in the past. But looking past that, the fact that we had all these potential candidates, good candidates, I'd say, with Frazier and Saleh, and I'm trying to think if there was any. I mean, and even Dion at that point. The fact that Jerry is most likely going to decide to stay within the organization because he knows who Brian Schottenheimer is. He knows that he can boss him around. And to have all these interviews and all these potential candidates and to not even go outside of the organization for your final decision is just, I mean, what other way to describe it, Brady, other than embarrassing? I think that's the right term, embarrassing. And listen, it's not set in stone yet. And I know once we stop the podcast here and whenever that is, right when we do it, there will be a report out there that we've hired, because that's always how it happens. But no, I mean, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Brady, about. I know we talked about it, before a little bit, but not too much. But from the way it looks, it's embarrassing. And I listen, if it is true, I hope he's the greatest head coach we've ever had. I know, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Because I know you're eager to say something, and I don't want to hold you up.
Hold on, wait, what? Hold on. There's some weird Cowboy stuff going on.
Traded that for the number 1 pick?
No. The source of anyone I have left that has remained consistent. Sean Ramirez, he that always hasn't affected their thinking. Basically, there's still a lot of chatter about, still a lot of chatter about who's, apparently there's a thing going on with Rich Bisaccia with the Cowboys.
I have not heard that one yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to look up. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Hold on right now. So, according to Pro Football Post, mystery candidate in the Cowboys head coaching search believed to be Packers special team coordinator Rich Bisaccia.
Huh.
And apparently there's like some tampering going on.
Between the Cowboys?
I don't know. I mean, okay, to be fair, people are, oh my gosh, he's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Dude led a Raiders team that was in some of the biggest turmoil I've ever seen in my life through that storm and into the playoffs. Players like him a lot. he would not be the worst hire. There are worse candidates, i.e. Jason Witten. But okay, so Schottenheimer. Here are my thoughts. And I think John Owning of Pro PFF, I sent this to you guys, to you and Seth. It really hit the nail on the head for me. I have 3 different opinions on the potential hire. The first one is the pessimistic, the world is burning. I am no longer, I'm switching allegiances. I'm going to be a different, no. The true pessimistic reaction is, we're not seeing a Super Bowl until Jerry and Steven are both out of here, which could be like 20, 30 years. I don't know how old Steven is. Could be a long time. Then I have the optimistic view, right? Which is, hey, been around a long time. The son of a great NFL head coach, Marty Schottenheimer. His offenses have been up and down, but he has a good rapport with Dak. His journeyman career, he could put together a good staff because he knows a lot of coaches. Players like him. He can rally the troops. He'll probably want to run, maybe set more of a physical tone and run the ball more. He'll probably be better at managing personnel than Mike was. But that's the optimistic view. The true, I think, realistic view for me is, are there worse hires? Yes.
Not a lot.
The problem is this. People are going to compare him and Dion because Dion was the first name. And here is why I think they're on the same level of I don't want them, because they both give me something the other doesn't, and that is Schottenheimer gives me a guy that has proven he can coach in the NFL because he's been a coach in the NFL for a lot of years. Dion has 0 NFL experience as a coach. But Dion gives me a name. Dion gives me prestige. Dion gives me, okay, this is Jerry. Like Schottenheimer, I can't tell if this is Jerry or if this is Steven, or if it's both. I don't know. Nobody knows. But Dion, Steven would never want to hire Dion. That'd be Jerry saying, son, this is what we're doing. I'm hiring primetime, and you can go kick a rock. You can go kick the can down the road. I don't care. I'm hiring Deion Sanders. That would tell me who's really in charge. And Dion would be a name. Dion would bring a lot of publicity to the Cowboys, right? Draft night. I guarantee you, draft night, the first team they would show the War Room was, look at Deion Sanders in the War Room. The Titans just picked someone in the 7th round. I don't care. Look at Dion. Oh. The Titans picked Will Howard #1 overall. They picked Quinn Ewers. That doesn't matter. Look, Dion. Ah. Right? So he would be...
So it's only logical that Dion's brought in.
He'd be this allure. This poster, this poster coach, put him on a billboard coach. Put him on the billboards, prime time, back in Dallas. Yay. But again, Schottenheimer gives me a guy that's NFL experience, so they both give me something, but I don't really care for either of them, so I don't really want either of them as my head coach. I don't really want Schottenheimer. It's a boring hire. It's nothing special. At least Aaron Glenn has some personality. I know Aaron Glenn. You know what I mean? It's just... But again, I want to see who he brings in on his staff. If he doesn't change O-line coaches, then you will hear Scorched Earth Brady come on this show. If he can bring in a new O-line coach, please, just somebody good. Just somebody good. Please, I only ask. Give me a good O-line coach. Please. I anticipate he's going to keep Zimmer. That's my anticipation of it, if he is the hire. But we'll see. It's gotten very messy, the Cowboys coaching search. And very infuriating and very frustrating.
But expected.
Yeah.
What, you think the Cowboys can do something smoothly in the offseason? If they do anything at all?
No.
No. There has to be some sort of drama. There has to be something that gets brought up.
I mean, it's awful. It's awful. Just. And guess what, Seth? Guess what, Chase? It doesn't matter. Because guess what? The draft's going to roll around, and what are me and you going to do? We're going to be excited because it's football, the draft. And when training camp rolls around, what are we going to do? Football's back. Hey. Week 1, I guarantee you, me and you are going to be, it's week 1. Let's go. Cowboys Nation, we them boys. I guarantee, not this is our year. I didn't say that this year. Didn't say it. And if I did, it was a joke. And then by week 8, we'll be sad and waiting for the season to end again. But you know what? At least, again, the last year, doing more football research and getting more into it, I'm able to enjoy football on a better level than just the Cowboys. That's good.
Yeah.
I have no more thoughts about Schottenheimer. Basically articulated most of what and like you said, I guarantee you in the next hour or two, it'll be something big. Like, and the Cowboys hired Deion Sanders. Oh, son of a, right as I'm sending the episode out to people.
Right.
So I want to preface, we are recording this at, right now, I'm saying this, it's 2:17 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay? So if something happens at 4 and I didn't send the episode to you till 5, that's why there's nothing about the hire. We can only go. I can't predict the future, but I'd love to be able to do that because then I'd be the
Call your
greatest.
shot right now.
It's going to be Schottenheimer. I'm going to say they hire Schottenheimer when I wake up tomorrow morning. He'll be hired.
I'm with you.
Well, if there's nothing else,
the conference championship preview.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Cowboys, they've blinded me.
Yeah.
What a divisional round. Back to here. You know what? I can enjoy other football than the Cowboys. Back to real football with real teams. What a shock. Commanders just, and again.
New front office, new general manager.
Do you know what I hated?
Like what happens?
You know what I hated? Everyone's like, oh my gosh, people are overreacting to Aaron Glenn and his defense. And I'm sitting up here going, and you can attest to this, I've never liked his defense. This just proves everything I've been saying for the last year, 2 years, 3 years.
In his defense, the Lions' defense was super beat up.
Yes, but his scheme was never inventive. It's basic. It's easy to attack. Anyway, I just think he's going to be the next coach that everyone clamors for, and he's just not that great. My personal take. Well, we got 2 conference title games. The first one, kind of the more boring one, especially for Cowboys fans. Commanders, go Commanders. I'm happy for them. Yeah. My team sucks. My ownership sucks. I now have Dan Snyder as my owner. You guys are the successful team. I'm happy for them. I hope the Commanders, for me, I hope the Bills win and the Commanders.
Yeah.
I'd be because then that also proves me, and because Seth's not here, he can't take credit. It proves me right about Jane Daniels. I had Daniels ahead of Caleb Williams. I had him as the best quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, I did as well. I thought that Daniels was the number 1 pick. I knew they were going to take Caleb, but I predicted that Daniels should be the number 1 pick.
I mean, Daniels was just that good of a quarterback, and so I'm happy. I want to be right. So, but give me the Eagles. I've got to pick Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I
at home.
Yeah, and from the times that Washington has played them, terrible the first meeting. Second time they played them, there was no Hurts. Kenny Pickett beat them barely.
And remember, this is Kellen Moore versus Dan Quinn. Should be interesting.
Yeah.
So go ahead. What's your
You know what? I gotta go with the hot hand. Phillies looked a little underwhelming outside of Saquon Barkley, outside of a guy who's putting up 300 yards a game. So, give me Washington. I'm gonna take the commies, and I hope that.
I hope they win, but I don't think they will.
This might be the greatest rookie season of all time.
Anyway,
yeah.
Bills Chiefs. I'm kind of with you here. I'm riding the hot hand over the team that's played better. It's won more games. I'm taking the Bills.
I'm taking the Chiefs. We're disagreeing on both of them.
Well,
I'm just going with a team that's been here, a team that's done that, and a team that knows what's going to.
Part of that is yes, I want the Bills to win, but I think this is their year. I think this is the year that they can finally put the Stephon Diggs watching the celebration to rest. I think they're a better football team. I think they're playing better. They have more talent. I think they're better in every way. We're just going to see how the refs do. I love Mahomes trying to say they don't give them favoritism, but then you watch the game and Mahomes is clearly trying to bait flags.
Yeah.
And the problem is that, okay, last thing before we end this episode, people got mad at the Patriots because they would find ways to circumvent the rule book and find loopholes. They would find inventive loopholes. They would find ways to work around stuff to their advantage, right? Like one thing they would do to start is if they, before the NFL I think the NFL put where you couldn't really do this, they would sign a bunch of guys to their practice squad from other teams that they were about to play so they get their playbook.
Yeah.
Hey, what do they run? Hey, what's their calls? Right? They do stuff. That's intelligent. That's a strategic move.
Yeah.
What Mahomes is doing is something that I never saw Brady do. I never saw Brady got favoritism, but he never looked like he was asking for it. Mahomes clearly is trying to take advantage of the protections put around quarterbacks. Brady benefited, but he never looked like he was trying to take advantage of it.
Right.
Mahomes trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah, he's flopping out of bounds. He's complaining that he got hit up high.
And you know what I would do?
Wasn't he smart? But
I know this is gonna be awful. If I was like Von Miller, first sack of the game early when you can give him 15 yards, just if he tries to do that, hit him as hard as you can. You know, no. I'm gonna put in one of my backups in, and targeting. Get a targeting call. It's awful. It's an awful strategy. I'm not saying you should. Okay, let me rephrase. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying it would be an interesting change to see an NFL team put a sub player out there and have a dirty, cheap shot on Mahomes. It'd be dirty. It'd be awful. It would not be what sports is about.
Yeah, they would never do that. But yes.
But guess what? It may put an end to this crap. You hit Mahomes. You knock him out of the game. And quarterbacks are not. They're going to think twice next time they try to bait flags. So I'm just saying. I don't want it to happen.
They would never do that.
They would never.
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen. I want to preface. I'm not saying, I can't wait for that to happen. What I'm saying is, it's a strategy I've heard people talk about, which is, you don't want them to do it, draw a penalty early.
Sure.
Set the tone, draw a penalty, and move on. But that's what anyway.
Sure.
We will see you guys next week as we prepare for the Super Bowl. Hopefully it's Bills Commanders, and dear God, don't let it be Chiefs Eagles. So we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.